Did you hear that? Good morning. To all of you joining us in the chapel and the people on YouTube, we're especially glad to have those of you who may be with us for the first time and hope to see you again soon. I'm Jean Weigant, your worship leader today. Our speaker is our pastor, Reverend Landerman Zucker. Her topic is Keeping to the Path, or How to Steer Clear of Spiritual Bypassing, a sermon with Zen Tales. East Rose acknowledges for that at least 13,000 years, many tribes and bands have made their lives here, where our church home and our communities now exist. We remember and honor these people who made their home in this land, the ones here now and those who lived here before. In peace, may we share this land and honor one another. As we begin our service, let's take a moment to greet each other. First, we in the chapel, let's turn and look at the cameras by the clock on the back wall and wave hello to our friends viewing the service on YouTube. Then turn and greet each other here in the chapel. Our call to worship today is a responsive reading called a Common Destiny, and I will read the yellow and you will read the white print on the screen. All living substance, all substance of energy, being, and purpose are united and share the same destiny.
All people, those we love and those we know not of, are united and share the same destiny.
Birth to death, we share this unity with the sun, earth,
our brothers and sisters, strangers,
flowers of the field, snowflakes, volcanoes, and moonbeams.
Birth, life, death, unknown, known, unknown.
Our destiny from unknown to unknown.
May we have the faith to accept this mystery and build upon its everlasting truth.
Now let us prepare our hearts and minds as we listen to the prelude and move into worship, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connections in all forms. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Thank you, Jean. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good to see you all today. Our opening today is we start with a Zen tale, and they're sort of sprinkled throughout the service, and it's called A Cup of Tea. Nanin, a Japanese master during the Meiji era, 1868 to 1912, received a university professor who came to inquire about Zen. Nanin served tea. He poured his visitor's cup full and then kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. It's overfull. No more will go in. Stop. Like the cup, the Zen master said, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? We'll deepen into worship with our first hymn. Please rise as you are able to sing number 90 in the gray hymnal, From All the Fret and Fever of the Day. The words will also be on the screen.
Thank you.
Invite Tara and the children to come forward for a time for all ages.
Good morning. Today's story is called What the Road Said by Cleo Wade and illustrated by Lucy de Moyencourt. It's a story about traveling the path to become who you are, the whole path, beginning, middle, and end. Life's journey is filled with ups and downs, and each step matters. While we may wish to fast forward through challenges, even the tough times shape who we become. The struggles we face teach us resilience, the mistakes help us learn, and the setbacks often lead to unexpected opportunities. By embracing both the joys and the difficulties, we gain wisdom and strength. What the Road Said. Have you ever wanted to go in a different direction? Have you ever wondered if there was something more? Something out there, something just different? I did too. Then one day I was walking my usual way home when out of nowhere, for no reason at all, almost as if it were magic, a road appeared. I could not believe my eyes, so I walked over to it and I said to the road, "Where do you lead?" The road said, "Be a leader and find out." "How do I start?" I asked. The road smiled and said, "You've already started." "Well, what happens when I get there?" "We have just begun," said the road. "Don't skip straight to the ending. Enjoy the beginning and the middle too." "Which way do I go?" "That is your choice to make," said the road. "But what if I go the wrong way?" The road curved a little, almost as if it was giving me a hug, and said, "Don't worry. Sometimes we go the wrong way on our way to the right way." "What if I get scared?" "That's okay. You are brave," said the road. "But what does it mean to be brave?" I asked. The road guided me through a very gloomy forest. Even though I was frightened, I trusted the road, and as I took one step and then another step after that, the road gently whispered, "Being brave is when you're afraid of doing something, but you do it anyway. Don't let what scares you keep you from continuing on your path." "Will I always move forward?" "Not always," said the road. "Why not?" "Because sometimes you'll stumble backward, and sometimes you'll stand still." "What if I fall?" "Everyone falls at some point," said the road, "but I will always be there when you land." "What if I get lost?" "There may be some days that feel long and dark," said the road, "but I promise that no matter what, I will give you the evening stars and morning sun to light your way." "What if I grow weary or get hurt?" "I will give you trees of all shapes and sizes to shelter you when you need to rest and heal," said the road. "What if I get lonely?" "You're never alone," said the road. "What if I need help on my journey?" "Ask your fellow travelers along the way." "What if they're mean to me?" "Lead them to kindness," said the road. "How?" "By being kind." "What if they want to fight?" "Lead them to peace," said the road. "But how do I lead them to peace?" "By listening to their stories, telling them yours, and reminding them that we're all on this journey together." "What if the world around us is filled with hate?" "Lead it to love." "How?" "By sharing the power of your love with it," said the road. "What if something unexpected happens?" "Keep going." "What if there are mountains that feel too tall to climb? What if there are rivers that feel too wide to cross? What if I get my heart broken? What if I feel stuck? What if giving up is easier?" "Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going," said the road. "What if I can't do it?" "You can," said the road. "How do you know?" "Because you've come this far," said the road. I said to the road, "Where do you lead?" The road said, "Be a leader and find out." Remember, skipping ahead might seem tempting, but it's the full journey with all its twists and turns that makes life rich and meaningful. And now we'll head back to RE while Reverend Robin and the adults continue the conversation. If the adults along the center aisle will form a bridge, we'll sing the children out.
I also want to say before I go on that today is the beginning of Latin Heritage Month, and it's not something we always lift up, but I feel in the current climate it's so important for us to be open and not just accepting, but as I talked about in a sermon recently, examine our unconscious biases about people and really be the inclusive people we say we are, particularly in this run-up to the election with a lot of very hateful rhetoric that is hurting real people. So I invite you now to come into that quiet place where we are going to have some meditation, some silence. I know this can be uncomfortable for some of you, but I encourage you to try it and see if you can relax into this moment in the service. Close your eyes, put your feet on the floor, see if you can open your posture by unclenching your hands or your arms and just laying your hands in your lap, dropping your shoulders, softening your jaw, and feeling what it's like to settle into that place of relaxing your body and your mind and your spirit. Take a deep breath. One big breath in and a big exhale. Last week I did a meditation on the heart chakra, and today, after some silence, there'll be a brief meditation on the third eye chakra, the ajna, the place of intuition. So breathe in 4 beats slowly through your nose and breathe out 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth. Really open your mouth or let the air out, really let it out. You can do this anywhere for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Feel how it opens you and creates spaciousness. How it opens you to clarity, how it unclutters you. And just breathe. 4 beats in through your nose slowly, 5 or 6 beats out through your mouth slowly. Create a rhythm so it isn't jerky, it's smooth. The meditation on the ajna, the third eye, the place in the middle of your forehead. It's the blue chakra. This meditation is designed to activate the qualities of wisdom, knowledge, intuition, discernment, and imagination. It will help you focus on the truth of your experiences and put you more deeply in touch with your own true nature. So as you relax and breathe, visualize a large indigo blue star in your brow, between your eyebrows. A blue star, and see it radiate out and intensify across your brow. Feel the flow of energy move through each of the points. Wisdom, discernment, imagination, intuition, knowledge. A clear, bright blue. you can reflect on how these points manifest in your life, or how they might manifest on your path. How would you use discernment? What would you know if you allowed your intuition to guide you? What type of knowledge beyond thinking could help you through a difficult time? As you allow this light to expand, know it is the light of consciousness, which can bring you peace of mind and inner knowing. It's the light of your truth, which expresses your deepest knowing and your deepest longing for oneness, love, clarity, and beauty. Continue breathing. Now bring the light radiating from the points back to the center of the star. Express gratitude to yourself for the opportunity to learn more and deepen on the path. Our quiet song or meditative hymn is number 1011 in the teal hymnal. We will sing it 3 times and stay seated. Return again.
reading today is a Hindu wisdom tale, Tattvam Asi. In the classic wisdom tale, Tattvam Asim, a seeker went to a great master. Bowing reverentially in the traditional manner, he said, "O master, I seek enlightenment. Please initiate and teach me so that I may attain that." The master replied in a kindly manner, "Certainly, my son, Tattvam Asi, which is Sanskrit for you are that." The master continued, "The divine self lives within you. Meditate on that self. Know that self. Merge in that self. Realize that self." The seeker was disappointed. "Oh, master, I know all that already. Why, that very teaching was featured in this month's yoga journal. Please give me the secret teachings. I want the real stuff." The master said, "That is all I know. That is my entire teaching. I have no secrets. There is nothing that I have not given you. However, if you are not satisfied, you can go down the road to the next ashram or monastery and see if he has something more suitable for you." The seeker departed and approached the next guru and said, "O master, I seek enlightenment. Please give me the initiation and your most secret teaching so that I may attain that." The guru said, "I do not give my teachings so easily. You must earn them. You must do sadhana, spiritual practice. If you are sincere, then you can stay here and work for 12 years. Only in this way will you earn my initiation." The seeker was delighted. "That's just what I wanted. That is real spiritual life, real sadhana. I'll begin at once." The guru assigned him the job of shoveling buffalo dung in the back paddock. The years went by. Each day as he shoveled the dung, the seeker dreamt of his future enlightenment. He ticked the passing days and months off his calendar. Finally, 12 years were up. The great day arrived. He approached the master with hands folded palm to palm. "Oh, my guru, I have served you faithfully for 12 years. I request your teachings and initiation as you have promised. Please bestow your grace upon me." The guru said, "My son, you have served me well. You truly deserve my teaching. Here it is, Tattvam Asi. You are that. The divine self lives within you. Meditate on that self. Know that self. Merge in that self. Realize that self." The seeker became enraged. "What? Is that all? The guru up the road gave me that the first time I met him, and I didn't have to shovel buffalo dung for 12 years. "Well," said the guru, "that was your decision, but the truth hasn't changed in 12 years.
The first time I heard Tat Devama Si, the wisdom tale Jean just presented to us, I was reminded of a New Yorker cartoon that I clipped out years ago and pinned to the bulletin board over my desk. It shows two bald, robed yogis sitting lotus-style in an ashram, or spiritual retreat, under the watchful eye of a Shiva statue. One is turned to the other saying, "I'd read so much about it beforehand that I couldn't help being disappointed when I actually became enlightened." Now, of course, the ironic humor of this cartoon resides in the unlikely notion that anyone who had genuinely achieved enlightenment would remain so earthbound and cerebral as to be disappointed about anything, right? Now, for the most part, for better or worse, religions do hold out some possibility of enlightenment, or more simply put, spiritual growth, a much more attainable outcome. And you don't have to don robes or sit on a cushion in a mountain cave to get a taste of it. To enlighten or to shed spiritual light upon represents the central purpose of religious pursuits in the first place, including our more flexible and progressive faith of Unitarian Universalism. But the danger arises when spirituality becomes a self-sabotaging ego trap, or a way to avoid confronting uncomfortable feelings or unresolved wounds, fundamental psychological needs, or the shadow side of ourselves, and we all have that, or the shadow side of society. In the early 1980s, the renowned psychologist John Welwood coined a term to describe this phenomenon after observing dysfunction within his own Buddhist community. He called it spiritual bypassing. And often, those who engage in this behavior veer far from an authentic spiritual path while convincing themselves, or being convinced by false gurus, that they are on the right path and they are heading right up the mountaintop to enlightenment. Last week, in my sermon, Clearing a Path to Heartfulness, I preached about a genuine zeal for the beauty of an open-hearted life through opening the heart chakra. It was a positive-themed sermon. I stand behind it. But I've written this second part of the series about being on the path because it really is crucial to acknowledge how a deep dive into spiritual practice, which I highly recommend, it can actually lead to behaviors and beliefs that are very far from spiritual. Welwood explains, when we are spiritually bypassing, we often use the goal of awakening or liberation to rationalize what he calls premature transcendence, trying to rise above the raw and messy side of our humanness before we really have fully faced and made peace with it. And then we tend to use the absolute truth we've been fed to disparage or dismiss relative human needs, feelings, problems, relational difficulties, and developmental deficits. I see this as an occupational hazard of the spiritual path, Welwood warns, in that spirituality does involve a vision of going beyond our current karmic situation, like where we are right now. But it can be so easily abused and become distorted. Trying to move beyond our psychological and emotional issues by sidestepping them is always dangerous. It sets up a debilitating split between the sacred and the human within us, between what is and what we would like it to be. Because spiritual bypassing leads to a conceptual, one-sided kind of spirituality where one pole of life is elevated at the expense of the opposite. Absolute truth. Is there such a thing? Absolute truth. Always look out for that. Is favored over relative truth. The impersonal over the personal, transcendence over embodiment, and detachment over feeling. We see this distortion happening in mainstream congregations, yoga ashrams, Buddhist sanghas, and even evangelical Christian churches. One might, for example, attempt to practice Buddhist non-attachment by dismissing one's need for love. But this only drives that need underground so that it often becomes unconsciously acted out in covert and harmful ways instead. But this throws our inner compass, our ajna, our third eye chakra of intuition and wisdom way off course. And it wreaks havoc on our relationships with others because it can encourage exaggerated detachment, emotional numbing, and an overemphasis on the positive, anger phobia, overly tolerant compassion, weak boundaries, and a delusion of spiritual specialness. Welwood points out that even meditation can be used to avoid uncomfortable feelings and unresolved life situations. He explains, for those in denial about their personal feelings or wounds, meditation practice can actually reinforce a tendency towards coldness or interpersonal distance. This doesn't mean you shouldn't meditate. Just be aware of these pitfalls, these ways we spiritually bypass. These individuals are at a loss when it comes to relating directly to their feelings or to expressing them personally in a transparent way. He explains it can be quite threatening when those of us on a spiritual path have to actually face our woundedness, our emotional dependency, or an absolute primal need for love, for attachment, what we were built for as human beings. So how does this distortion and exploitation happen even in spiritual communities that appear to be balanced and healthy? Consider this story about the moon and the pointing finger.
The Zen teacher's dog loved his evening romp with his master. The dog would bound ahead to fetch a stick, then run back, wag his tail, and wait for the next game. On this particular evening, the teacher invited one of his brightest students to join him, a boy so intelligent that he became troubled by the contradictions in Buddhist doctrine. You must understand, said the teacher, that words are only guideposts. Never let the words or symbols get in the way of the truth. Here, I'll show you. With that, the teacher called his happy dog. Fetch me the moon, he said to his dog and pointed to the full moon. Where's the dog looking? Asked the teacher of the bright pupil. He's looking at your finger. Exactly. Don't be like my dog. Don't confuse the pointing finger with the thing that is being pointed at. All our Buddhist concepts are only guideposts. Every person finds his way to find his own truth.
Now, I am not a guru or a master, but I am a spiritual guide or catalyst in my own way. And maybe you feel impatient or even agitated listening to this sermon right now, in this moment, the only reality you are actually experiencing. When is she going to tell us the secret? Maybe you are already wondering if there will be cookies at coffee hour today, or if you'll be able to follow the melody in the hymn we'll be singing when I'm finished. Do I know the way to your light? Do I have the GPS of your path? No, but I certainly have ideas, resources, and experiences to share. That's why I'm up here. That's why I'm here. But whenever I sense in others a zeal to line up behind me so they can follow me on the path, I tell them clearly, I'm just another finger pointing at the moon. I am not your light. However, as your minister, I will always stand here on the edge of the path and shine a flashlight down on it so that you might not trip quite so much on your path, and that I might not trip so much on that path with you. In a nutshell, here's the headline. If a teacher, minister, therapist, anyone tells you that they have the secret password to your enlightenment, I suggest you strap on your sandals and head to the next village. That really is an example of spiritual bypassing. Charlatans abound in the world of spiritual growth, and so many renowned teachers, roshis, yogis, ministers, priests, and gurus have lost their way, being seduced by adoration, and they've fallen from grace, believing they are the moon, and convincing their followers that they are the moon, rather than another finger pointing at it. There are cults of all kinds. Cults around what we eat, cults around exercise, CrossFit, and now cults of political personality. Charlatans abound everywhere. We also need to develop a tremendous tolerance and appreciation for different personal styles of embodying spirituality. Otherwise, if we settle for a one-size-fits-all dharma or truth, we're doomed to an endless holier-than-thou competition and one-upsmanship, and what I call the too-muchness of any practice that is meant to help us develop and live a moderate and balanced life.
Moderation. An aged monk who had lived a long and active life was assigned a chaplain's role at an academy for girls. In discussion groups, he often found that the subject of love became the central topic. This comprised his warning to the young women. Understand the danger of anything too much in your lives. Too much anger in combat can lead to recklessness and death. Too much ardor in religious beliefs can lead to closed-mindedness and persecution. Too much passion in love creates dream images of the beloved, images that ultimately prove false and generate anger. To love too much is to lick honey from the point of a knife. But as a celibate monk, asked one young woman, how can you know of love between a man and a woman? Sometime, dear children, replied the old teacher, I will tell you why I became a monk.
Too much passion, too much love, too much anger. Understand the danger of anything too much, instructs the monk. Very simple, very wise advice for us as we set out on our individual journeys and attempt to keep to the path. And be cautious about the aspects of spiritual bypassing that labels actions and beliefs as spiritual that are anything but. Jordan Bates on the website Higher Existence gives us a really good summary, a list of 10 spiritual things people do that are total buffalo dung, as our first tale calls it. 1, use spirituality to feel superior by engaging in the latest or coolest spiritual practices because you want to fit in. I hang out now with the truly spiritual people. 2, sabotaging their ability to succeed by associating ambition or material wealth with spiritual impurity and general malevolence. 3, use spirituality as a justification for failing to take responsibility for one's actions. Oh, did I hurt you? It doesn't matter. Reality is an illusion anyway. Or, what can I say? I'm just honoring my truth. 4, judging others for expressing anger or other strong emotions, even when it may be necessary to do so. If only you were more enlightened, you'd be able to avoid these negative feelings. 5, use spirituality as a justification for excessive drug use and using these drugs, including psychedelics, without proper guidance or safeguards. 6, overemphasizing positivity in order to avoid looking at the problems in their lives or in the world. Just be positive, just open your heart, just focus on that lovely white light. Of course, optimism, grounded optimism is wonderful, but it isn't everything. 7, repress unpleasant emotions that don't fit their spiritual self-narrative. No way, I can't be depressed or scared or anxious. I meditate every day at the coolest sangha in town. That's not me. 8, find themselves in bad situations due to excessive tolerance and a refusal to distinguish between people. Should we affirm and activate our first UU principle about the worth and dignity of others? Yes, but there are people who do not deserve our trust and prey on our goodwill. It is not unspiritual to be savvy in making common sense distinctions between people. 9, want so badly for various spiritual practices to be correct that they disregard science entirely. Science and spirituality do not cancel each other out. And number 10, finally, feel deep aversion or self-loathing when confronted with their shadow side. I feel guilty for being imperfect. Well, guess what? The Dalai Lama, Jesus, Thich Nhat Hanh, even Buddha made a very big point of their imperfection and modeled compassion for self. They understood the need to be flexible in responding to real life and that the path might be muddy, messy, and inconvenient. Our final Zen tale makes that point quite well.
Muddy road. Tanzan and Aikido were once traveling together down a muddy road. A heavy rain was still falling. Coming around the bend, they met a lovely girl in a silk kimono sash, unable to cross the intersection. "Come on, girl," said Tanzan at once. Lifting her onto his back, he carried her over the mud. Aikido did not speak again until that night when they reached the lodging temple. Then he could no longer restrain himself. "We monks do not go near or touch females," he scolded Tanzan, "especially not young and lovely ones. It is forbidden. Why did you do that?" Tanzan looked at Aikido calmly and replied, "I put the girl down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?"
Do you know the way to light? Keep to the path, unknown to known to unknown. In your quest, do not bypass the pain or the joy. Maintain humility. Keep your feet on the ground and maintain what Einstein called a holy curiosity. The truth has not changed in 12 years or 12,000 years. Tat Tavamasi. You are that. The divine self lives in you. Meditate on that self. Know that self. Merge in that self. Realize that self, both shadow and light. You are that. Inquire within. Jai Bhagwan, the divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in you. Our final hymn is number 348 in the gray hymnal, Guide My Feet. Please rise as you are able.
The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and in action, and you will have time to reach for your pockets, your wallets, in a minute. I want to tell you some stuff first. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-sustaining church and its ministries. Here at East Rose, we share half of our offering with a community nonprofit that we support. This quarter, we're sharing with Outgrowing Hunger, which builds and operates community farms and gardens for refugees, immigrants, and people who care about affordable access to real food in Portland and Gresham. They operate all the community garden programs in Gresham, including Nadaka Park and many of the gardens in East Portland. They also have a 22-acre farm in Boring where they rent irrigated farmland to qualified growers. If you are attending online, you may donate by visiting our website and clicking the Donate button, or you may scan the QR code on the screen. If you are here for the first time, we invite you to let the basket pass and truly be our guest. The gift of the congregation will now be most gratefully received. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I'd like to thank Jean for being my wonderful partner today in this service, and Mary for your beautiful music, and John for your work with our technology today, for the flowers and the greeters and the coffee. I'm most grateful. After the service today, we are having spirited conversations here in the sanctuary. We'll talk about the sermon and also maybe some of your experiences on the spiritual path, for better or ill. And on Tuesday, lunch with the minister. Everyone is always welcome, 12 to 1 o'clock. Bring a brown bag lunch, and we always have an interesting chat. My benediction today is a poem I might have offered once before that I really love. It's called Offerings by the Reverend Kendra Ford. She writes, "For those who are shy but resolute, almonds and milk, and carry a smooth stone in your pocket. For those who are first to speak, crisp green apples and wear well-worn hiking boots. For those who refuse to believe even what they see, tart stewed rhubarb, then greet everything you meet by name. For those whose minds will not empty a full samovar of tea while someone brushes and brushes your hair. For those who are exhausted to emptiness, lentil soup, and watch the waves till the tide turns, then sleep. For those who find the faces of others inscrutable, hot pepper jam and sit in the front row at the movies and watch the audience. For those who get lost in their own freedom, slow rising bread, then write on birch bark all that you believe. For those who are surprised by their own kneading, grits and molasses, and sit in the dim auditorium during every choir practice. For those who are afraid to listen, thick simmering stew, and sit in the park until among the birds you hear your name. And for those who are afraid of what they must do, wild berry pie, and walk everywhere you go. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen.
In addition to the announcements that you can find in the petals, I have a whole stack of them here. And first of all, I would like to invite John Netherton to come on up because he wants to teach us how to do something the correct way. So listen up.
Hello all. Last night when I was doing just a security check around the building after I was done cleaning before I went home, I noticed one of the windows was not closed all the way, and I realized that there are a number of the new casement windows that got put in the building that are not getting shut correctly. There's a little latch up on the side of the window that moves up and down. That's to lock the window in place. If the window is open and you put that down, you're not able to turn the window back all the way and it'll stay slightly ajar. It'll feel shut, it'll look kind of shut, but it's actually open a little bit. So Whenever you've got those windows open, that latch needs to stay up so you can shut it all the way, but when you have that window shut, that latch needs to come back down because that actually locks the window shut and prevents it from being pried open. So when you're in a room, if you're the last one out of the room and you're done with the room, just give the windows a quick check, make sure those latches are shut. And again, if you're the last person out, take a look at all of the windows. Also the windows in here, if they've been open, you can tell if they're shut. There's a little button on it that'll stay pressed in. And if it's open, then the window's all the way down and latched properly. So thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Yesterday, Keen wants us to know, yesterday there was a work party here, and thanks to Keen and Eric, Richard, Linda, and Larry. And everybody plan ahead for October 12th from 9 to 12, there will be another work party, and all hands are welcome and encouraged. From Eric Chewy, on September 28th and 29th, UUA's Side with Love is holding the first Climate Justice Revival. East Rose is part of it. We have a special speaker Sunday, September 29th. But there is more. Eric is looking for ideas and volunteers to rally enthusiasm, mourn for climate change, share training, ideas, and action. This is only a beginning. The revival is designed to lead to changes in the ways we relate to one another and how we live together as congregants and society. And this announcement from Linda, the friendship dinners, which are September 28th. The sign-up needs to be done by noon today. And give your sign-up sheets to Linda or Keen. And would you two please raise your hands? Okay, thank you. And do not turn these into the office. Give them to Linda or Keen. And if you want to sign up and don't have a sheet, I'm sure Linda can help you with that. We want some plant donations. Keen has asked for plant donations or a memorial. We're inviting our church family to donate shrubs or trees to replace those lost in construction last winter's ice, possibly in memory of. So if you have a shrub or a tree you'd like to donate, please contact Keen. Don't bring it here and drop it off until you check with him first. And the Good Trouble Gang, I love that name. Therese has said the Good Trouble Gang postcard project continues after the service today. How about 5 postcards explaining to people in Ohio how to sign up for absentee ballots? Love that, Therese. The hiking group usually hikes on Wednesdays. Due to our big due last week, there will be no community hike this week. And one other thing that's not in here, I know that Cynthia had surgery just this past week. Does anybody have an update?
No,
okay, okay, one will be, yes. Oh yes, Lynn.
Cynthia made a Facebook post saying that this surgery seems much easier than the last one, and she appreciated the well wishes and all, and she expects to see us as soon as possible.
Okay, repeating for those who can't hear, Cynthia posted on Facebook that the surgery went well. It was easier than the last one, and she appreciates, pardon?
That's what she said.
That's what she said, yes. And she appreciates all the cards and contacts that she received. So that concludes our announcements and our service. Now we have visiting time in the Thatcher room at the back of the hall, coffee and visiting. Thank you.
Hope you'll stay for coffee and conversation so we can get better acquainted.